Hello, I'm Francesco Nepitello, game designer from Venice, Italy. I'm here to present Barcelona, La Rosa de Fuego, my latest game designed together with Marco Maggi, my longtime co-designer. We're probably better known for the War of the Ring game, a big game on the Lord of the Rings. This is a completely different thing that we have designed for the Vir Iberia. We're presenting this game for Análisis-Parálisis. So, the game is about the expansion of the city of Barcelona in the end of the 19th century and early 20th century, when they decided to bring down the walls of the old city, to expand the city and transform it into a modern metropolis. The city you see today, Barcelona, is very much the product of that period, when the wealthiest families of the city decided to invest their money into making it a better city. Luckily for them, they decided to make it following a plan, an urbanistic plan. So what you see today, if you have seen Barcelona from above, maybe arriving with a plane, you will have certainly noticed that the city is divided as a grid into many things that really beg to be transformed into a board game. So the game is historically set in that time. The players are patrons of important families of the time, and their aim is to become the richest families in Barcelona and to be the most important elements in the construction of it, to be remembered in the following decades and possibly centuries. So, but Barcelona at the time was a very dualistic type of town, because of course, being a rich city, it attracted a huge wave of immigration from all over Spain. People that came to city to be part of its transformation and to work in it. So the rich families of the city, already connected to the building of factories, to the development of wealth in the colonies, saw this as a great opportunity. Of course, it is a great opportunity for work, but of course needed to do it in the right way, because immigration and a great concentration of people in the same place in a city can brew unrest. In fact, Barcelona at the time became almost the capital of anarchism. We are representing this dualism in the fact that you want to get victory points, and this is the only thing that counts in the game. Victory points representing money. You win by having the most, but your way to get victory points is basically in opposition to be able to house people in the city in a proper way. This is the part of the board that represents the old city of Barcelona, and in particular the district of Raval. In Raval, still existing, you can visit it. The buildings were tightly connected to each other. They had many stories, and many families lived in the same flats in poor conditions, and of course this was brewing unrest. The game is a card-driven game, so you will play cards every turn, one card every turn for 5 phases, basically 5 hands of cards. Every player has 4 cards in his hand at each phase. Each 2 phases constitute a period of the city of Barcelona. So after 2 phases you will have a scoring phase to see who is accumulating more victory points, then a second scoring phase, and then a final hand to see who is the victor of the game. I'm saying this because the mechanic, the card-driven mechanic, allows every turn a player to just play a card and place a tile. This part of the board of the game represents the countryside that was surrounding Barcelona at the time when the walls of the historical town were brought down, and the surrounding villages that were industrial areas that were slowly becoming more and more important. What you will do during the game is to build districts of the city and putting buildings on them, basically starting to fill this area that today is known as the Ensanche, Le Champla, the expansion area of the city. Now Barcelona is much wider even than this area, but you during the game will fill it and will build it as it is today. So I'm telling this because the basic mechanic of placing a tile and a building on it is tightly connected to the accumulation of victory points and popularity. At the beginning of every turn, there's a thing that defines the immigration level of the turn. You turn over one of these tiles and put it on the first box in the time track. This number is to be used every time you place a building to see how many people you were able to employ in the building of the district, and by contrast, how many people ends up living in Raval without jobs and basically hating you as being the person to be blamed for this. This works like this. You place a building on it. Buildings have different status ratings, easily recognized also by the shape of the building and the size. This is a 4 points building, a 3 points building, a 2 points building, and a 1 points building. Every player has an allowance of tokens that he will use, so you place pieces of your color on the board. Also, apart from having 4, 3, 2, and 1 points of status, they also have, they can be recognized by name there: low cost, working class buildings, middle class buildings, and upper class buildings. Now, when you play a token here, you will make a simple subtraction between the immigration level and the points of the building. So this is a 4 points building, 5. It means that the difference is 1. 1 is a striking worker that goes in Raval. This is someone who hates your guts, basically. He wants to, he's always complaining about you. And players are placing, as they play, more and more workers in Raval, and this will have an effect on your prestige. Prestige is how your family is viewed in the city as being a benefit to the community or a threat to it, okay? Prestige points are extremely useful during the game, because whenever there's a tie, and there are several ties during the game in various parts of it, ties are broken by prestige. So you will use this all the time to see relatively, for example, between the yellow player and the blue player, who has most prestige, yellow wins, and so on. But this is not so simple, because you want to get money, and you get money in a way that is directly in opposition to how good you are in comparison to the immigration. So when it's better for you to build a larger building to house more people and have less people in Raval, it is better to build smaller buildings to get more victory points, because you want to build more upper class districts where wealthy people live. So the victory points values of these buildings is exactly the opposite of their popularity level. So it's 4, 3, 2, and 1. So this is the basic duality that we are exploring with the game. You want to get rich by building fancy houses, using the best architects, using the best artists to decorate them. But at the same time, you are facing one of the largest immigration waves at the time, and it is for you to choose if it is your duty, if it is your moral duty to take care of that. But of course, it will have also very precise effects on the game, because the city has an anarchy track, a track that keeps track, records the rise of unrest in the city that will eventually bring the city into open revolt. And if it happens, of course, when there's a revolt, it's not usually a good time to be very rich, because usually you are seen as the enemy of the people. So during the game, with every move, the players will do just like this. Will always think if it's the moment for them to profit from a situation and get more victory points, more wealth, or if it's the moment to be more a benefactor and do something that is a way to keep the unrest level of the city. The game is a historical game, so there are many things in the cards that reflect actual events and the names of real factories that were rising at the time that let you employ more people so they don't get angry at you and so on. A final thing about the mechanics of the game, as I mentioned, it is a card-driven game, so you do every action while playing one card each turn. But one thing that we think it's very interesting is that at the beginning of the game there are 4 different types of cards: city cards, popularity, prestige, and a labor strike card. This is the standard deck of cards. This is better. These are the best cards. This is the worst card. When you play a phase in the game, you are building also your hand of cards for the following phases. So it depends on your gameplay if you will have a good hand of cards in the following turns. So it's not simply luck of the draw, but at first you only have these cards, simple ones, just play a tile and place a token on it. Later on you will have cards representing that you have built El Café de l'Opéra, so a very well-known building today that gives you more points or is more flexible to be played on the table. You can build factories, you also have events. Sometimes you can, like in this case, appeal to the force of the Guardia Civil to help you. But of course this is brewing unrest, so it is always a game of having you on the edge of doing things for your own profit, but taking care of the fact that the city destiny will be shaped by your choices. So I think this is about all I can say about the game. I can add for a final note that the game has a learning curve. So when you first approach it, it might seem complicated, but I really suggest that you dive into a first phase of the game right on, when you have maybe just a slight grasp of the rules in general. Play the first phase of the game and everything will just click in, because all the elements are there at the same time. So but your actions are very simple. So you play a card and you place a tile. But you do this because, I should do this because I want more popularity to get better cards in the next turn. Or I should do it because I want more wealth and victory points. Or I should do it because I want more prestige. So these are the elements and they are all in the same place, but not much analysis paralysis, because your action is a very simple one. So play a card, place a tile, put a building on it. I think this is about all. I have to congratulate De Beer Iberia for a fantastic production of the game. We took a long in designing it, but they took another year to produce it. And here in Essen, I was amazed at the quality of the components because I haven't seen them. And when I arrived, I was touching every piece because it's top notch. So thank you very much for listening to the podcast and enjoy the game.